Hi, my beautiful butterflies. It is November 13th now, so it's been officially 10 days since I went in for surgery. This is going to be a multiple part video that I will upload because I can only record so much. So Monday morning, and this first video is gonna be just kind of like my hospital stay. Kind of going through it. So I got a medical transport, which just happens to be, it was a taxi, medical taxi that we have here in my local town. They came to my house at 3:30 in the morning on Monday. Sorry guys, my allergies are just, anyways. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to drive up to Seattle from where I am at. Got checked in, had to wait about 2 hours because my surgery got changed from 7:30 in the morning to 9:20 in the morning. I'm going to try and show you guys it, but my hair's still wet because I just got out of the shower. So I don't know how much of this you guys can actually see. So that is the surgery. It itches really bad right now, but all of this is shaved. And then this here, they actually pinned my head down. So I had a pin in here, and then I had a pin in the back of my head that's roughly here, roughly. And then it does kind of feel like they might have had one on the lower back side, but I'm not sure. I remember being wheeled into the OR room. When I got into the OR room, I only had one IV in me, which is what I got during pre-op. I am going to say right now, you can see the bruises on me better in my video than you can in person. So I had an IV, you can't really see it, but I had an IV over here. So I don't know why I have that bruise. And then I had an IV here. So I get this bruise. But so you can see that one. But the other one, I don't know why I have that bruising. The only thing I can think of is that that's just the artery that goes to, and I was constantly like trying to sit up in bed, and so trying to push. But I remember waking up in my OR and them taking me to the recovery room. And when I got to the recovery room, I realized I had the 2 extra IVs in me. Sorry guys, I have a headache and this light doesn't help. But otherwise, you guys really wouldn't be able to see me. Actually, let's try it. Okay. That might work. You guys wouldn't have been able to see my incision without that light. I'll just tell you that right now. Anyways, for the hospital stay, I was in there for 5 days. I knew I was going to have to be in ICU, NICU, but in this case, it's the neuro ICU. And I knew I was going to have to be there in 1 night. I ended up being in there for 4 nights. Or 4 days. 3 nights, 4 days. During my entire hospital stay, as a sum, I will say it was a 7 out of 10. And the reason being for that is that I was kind of on lockdown. I felt like an inmate or something like that, even though I've never been to jail, and nothing against people that have been in jail, but I literally felt like I was on lockdown. My bed, anytime I moved a certain amount, my alarm would go off in the bed, signaling that basically I wasn't in bed. I did have to stay a day longer than originally planned, and that is because my blood pressure was not cooperating. The first day they wanted my blood pressure, my systolic, which is the first number when you get it read, to be between 120 and 140. And that's because they didn't want the graft, which is where basically they take the vein and they cut it up, and they place it to another vein. They kind of stitch it into another capillary or whatever. So it wasn't too bad. They said everything went pretty good. Sorry, guys. I am trying just to take deep breaths with these headaches, and I haven't taken any pain meds today. Actually, I haven't taken any. So they gave me oxycodones for the pain and Tylenol. I haven't taken an oxycodone since Monday. It is Thursday. I took very little while I was in the hospital. My pain level was it was pretty much an average of a 2 out of 10 the entire time, with the occasional spike of like 4 or 5 out of 10. But back to like my overall experience. Because of them trying to keep my blood pressure between different ranges, they had me on an IV drip with some blood pressure medicine in it. And because I was on that, I had to have my blood pressure taken every 15 minutes. 15 minutes. My arm, I had to have them switch arms a couple of times because my arm was feeling raw from having it go off, and like the cuff would just kind of like rub my arm. Half the time that I shouldn't say half, but several times the cuff would fall down. So the cuff is supposed to sit from like here up. I don't have very much room between my shoulder and my elbow, but the cuff would continually kind of come down and it would sit about right here. But excuse me, guys, sorry, I just burped. Anyways, I had to have them switch the arms, and anytime I was laying in bed and on my left side, it would not do it right. I would have to lay back on my back and have them retake the blood pressure reading because it wouldn't read right. But anytime I had to go to the bathroom, or if I wanted to sit up in the chair, I had to call a nurse. And the reason why I'm docking part of that is because I don't know how many times I would have an alarm going off. Usually it was because of my blood pressure. Occasionally it was because of the IV drips that need to be refilled. But I would wait 5 to 10 minutes for a nurse to come in to shut off the alarm. And once that like 10-minute mark hit, I was pressing the call button because it was giving me a major headache. So almost every single time that the nurse would come in to turn off an alarm, be like, can I get some pain meds? Because I was having such bad headaches from the alarms going off. I kind of have a headache right now, and it hurts right in here, which is weird because I wasn't getting blood from about my eye level up, and I should be getting it now. So I think it's just a strain on my eyes. The other night I didn't get much sleep. I really didn't get much sleep last night. Another reason why I'm docking the hospital stay is because 2 nights in a row, basically I'd say the third and maybe the second and third nights. Yeah, I'll say the second and third nights there. I was in a room by myself with a door that was broken, so I couldn't have my door closed. And I was down this hallway, and the nurse's station was at kind of like the beginning of this hallway. And they were talking so loud so many times. Oh, I was going bonkers because they were talking so loud. I mean, there was once or twice where I almost called and be like, hey, shut the hell up. It was like, there's people trying to recover in here. This is an ICU. You don't need to be making that much noise. I mean, it was just bonkers. But the first night, I was able to get up and walked around the nurse's station unassisted. I mean, I did have a nurse with me because I had an IV pulse, so they pushed that. I could have pushed it. But I was labeled with SBA, which is standby assist, the entire time. This post-op day 1, so the day after my surgery, both physical and occupational therapy came in, but they weren't able to work with me because when I stood up, my blood pressure would drop. It wasn't within range. So they had to cancel that. But I know that night, I think I was able to walk around the nurse's station again unassisted. So 2 nights in a row, I was able to walk unassisted around the nurse's station within 2 days of surgery. I think it was on the actual second day post-op. So like a full 48 hours after I had my surgery, I got up and walked around the nurse's station twice, unassisted, mind you. On Thursday, so let me back up actually a second to Monday. Monday, my mother and her boyfriend drove the 1.5 to 2 hours up to come see me. They would not allow either one of them to come into the recovery room, which I was told, yes, you can have people come into the recovery room. I was in recovery for about 4 hours. And at most of that time, I was waiting for a bed. Like, dude, I had this scheduled for over 2 weeks. I should have a flipping bed. There should be a bed ready for me. So anyways, and my mom and her boyfriend had to pay to park as a visitor. What hospital does that? So that actually kind of takes, I mean, I should almost drop it to a 6 because of that. But I'm going to leave it at a 7. Anyways, I find out about 5 o'clock, 5:30, that I'm finally getting moved out of the recovery and into a room. I told the nurse in the recovery to please call my mom and let her know. I don't know if she ever did. Apparently, I don't think she did because my mom never showed up. And then once I got to my room in the ICU, I asked about my things because I wanted my phone to basically tell my mom, hey, I'm in my room finally, and talk to her and tell a couple other people that, hey, I'm out of surgery, just kind of give an update. It took until almost 8 p.m. to get my things. And I had to ask like 3 or 4 times. And they're like, oh, well, you have to wait until the 7 o'clock shift comes on. They'll bring it at the 7 o'clock shift. It was almost 8 o'clock by the time they brought my stuff. And it's not very far from the operating room to the NICU. It's literally, we didn't even go in the elevator. It's on the same level. So it just, I wasn't too happy about that. But anyways, the food, I will say the food was a 9 out of 10. It was probably some of the best hospital food I had. I tried quinoa for the first time. One of my favorite foods that I had was this Asian vegetable stir fry. I had chicken with it, and I chose quinoa because the night before I had actually had quinoa for part of my dinner to try it. But there was one day where I had noticed I was starting to have pain in here, and like chewing food was hurting, like just the muscle. Because they do cut, my incision is right there. So they cut part of that chewing muscle. And even today still, I have issues with chewing, which I'm going to. But sorry guys, you'll have to put up with this for a little bit. But all in all, my time in the hospital wasn't bad. Now, when I got moved on Thursday evening, I finally got upgraded and was moved from the ICU to a regular room. Now, I still felt like a prisoner. I went to go lay down, and they said, oh, you can't lay down yet. We need to fix your bed. Fixing my bed meant putting padding all along the rails. Tell me you don't think I'm freaking insane. And it was blue padding. And again, I had to call a nurse in order to get up and go to the bathroom or just sit up. I had called the early one morning because I wanted to sit up and I wanted to kind of be able to get up and be ready for ordering breakfast. I called, said, hey, I want to get up and sit in my chair. Like, okay, we'll call your nurse. 10 minutes goes by. At this point, I'm like, my sides were hurting. My hips were hurting because I was literally tossing back and forth because you're laying in bed for 4 to 5 days. You need to be able to get up and walk around or get up and move positions. And I really couldn't do that because if I moved the wrong way, my bed would go off. So there again, I feel like a prisoner. Ten minutes go by. I call again and be like, I really need to go pee. I need somebody in here now. Finally, a nurse comes in. My nurse comes in and gets me up. Or a nurse comes in and gets me up finally. And I go pee. I come back out. I was like, I want to see my case manager. They're like, oh, okay, well, your case manager is in a meeting at 9 o'clock. You know, when I saw my case manager, not until after 10 a.m. So over an hour to see my case manager. And they're like, oh, you want to see me? I was like, yes. It's like, I feel like I'm freaking being locked up. It's like, I don't need the SBA label. I was like, I can freely get up and down unassisted. Granted, I did need some assistance getting out of that bed, but part of it was I didn't sit up the top part of the bed as far as I should have. So that was on me. But other than that, it's like, okay, I can get in and out of bed just fine. I can walk just fine. I was like, I want to go home. It's like, I was supposed to be home yesterday. They're like, okay, well, we can get you out about 2 o'clock. I was like, no, get me out sooner. They're like, okay, so 1:30. I was like, that works. And the reason why I said no to 2 o'clock was because of traffic. About 4 o'clock is when traffic gets bad on I-5. 4 to 5. I did not want to be stuck in traffic on my way home. I was like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do, and we'll come back up or give you a call back when we find out when your ride is scheduled to be here. They never did. They never came back, never told us when. They did tell us when my ride was there, but they never told us, oh, your ride's going to be here soon or whatever. So when my ride actually got there, my nurse, sorry guys, I'm like kind of fascinated with my grays, but my nurse was still going through my discharge papers when my ride showed up. I still had my IVs in my arm. That's another thing. I told them on my pre-op that I had allergies to the adhesive. What do? They never gave me any of the safe adhesive, the allergy sensitive or sensitive skin adhesive. While I was in ICU, I did have one nurse that I mentioned because I was starting to itch from the adhesive. And I was like, I'm allergic to the adhesive. And she's like, okay, I'll go get you some of the other stuff and we'll change out your 2 IVs. So she did change out 2 of my IVs. The adhesive or long. So that I'm thankful for. Because if I had had any of that stuff on there all the way through until Friday, my arms would have been red with a rash. Like, redder than what I am right here. And this is nothing. This is just my regular skin. I'm breaking out. Anyways, so those were my issues and my journey in the hospital. Oh, I did get to take a shower on Thursday before I moved rooms. And it felt so good. I even got dressed in civilian clothes. I say civilian because I didn't wear the gown. I told my nurse, I was like, I'm not putting that gown back on. I want regular clothes. I want to feel human. If I'm stuck in here for more days, I want to feel human. So I had actually on, like, the day after surgery, I actually got up and put underwear on, regular underwear on, because that is the day that I actually had my catheter pulled out. So the day that I had my catheter pulled out, I was like, I want underwear on. I don't want to be bare naked, especially if I'm going out and making rounds around the nurse's station. Because I'll be honest, I had a couple of cute nurses. A couple really cute nurses. Which I made when I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I mentioned that comment. The female nurse that I was talking to, she was like, mm-hmm. She totally agreed with me and just kind of laughed. I think I made her day with that one. But yeah, I was in pretty good spirits most of the time. Like I said, I really only got frustrated when I literally felt alone in the room. Like, whenever I would have to call the nurse to shut off my dang alarms, because I would sit there for 5 to 10 minutes having to go beep, 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 beep. Sorry if that just annoyed anybody. But it was very annoying, and I felt alone a lot of the time. I was very thankful when my mom and her boyfriend came up and visited me on Thursday. We got to spend a couple hours together. They went and actually got me a mocha. Because I was on a carb diet because I was actually getting insulin. So fun fact, if you are on metformin, the hospital will not give you metformin. They will give you insulin. So that makes me wonder, how good is metformin really then if the hospital won't give it to you? So, yeah. I mean, that's just like, oh, well, if the hospital's not giving it to you, then why the hell should my doctor prescribe it to me? You know? And granted, it is an alternative to insulin, because the only time I take insulin is when I'm in the hospital. I allow it in the hospital, but I don't want insulin. My family, you take insulin, you're on it for life. And you're kind of preventing your body from kicking in and saying, oh, I need to make more insulin. So that's part of the reason why I don't like take insulin. I don't mind the injections. I inject myself every day with, it's called Victoza, but some people might know it more as like Rybelsus, but it's a GLP-1. It helps lower my A1C. Supposed to help me lose weight. And I believe also lower cholesterol, I believe. Oh, no, it's blood sugar, A1C, and lose weight. Which it has helped me lower my A1C. I went from almost over a 10 to down to 7.9, I think. Actually, no, I was at 9 point something, and I went down to 7.9. So it did lower my A1C. I can't really say that it helped with my weight, because I did lose some weight and then I gained some weight. My blood sugars, I will say that it did help a little bit, but my blood sugars are still kind of high. The day that I went into the hospital, even though I didn't have anything to eat since 10 p.m. the night before, my blood sugar was still over 300. Which, to me, I think it was eating off of the stored fat by that time. And so it was just taking the sugar out of my stored fat and causing my blood sugar to rise from that. The rest of the time I was in the hospital, my blood sugars were fairly decent. Of course, we noted when I would have something to eat, or like in the case of the mocha, when I had the mocha, my blood sugar was elevated. But you know what? I needed a treat. I needed something for everything that I was in there for. So you gotta have every once in a while you need a treat. Just saying. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be everything for this part of my surgery. So look forward to part 2, which is going to be days, 6 through whatever I get through, I guess. But after I left the hospital. So the time I spent with my mom and her boyfriend after the hospital. Look forward to that. All right, guys, I love you all. I will eventually get back to budgeting, but I have a 4 to 6 recovery time frame. So depending on when I feel comfortable driving again and when the doctor actually releases me to drive will depend on when I start earning some more income again, because I am back to Instacarting. All right, guys. I love you, my butterflies. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a happy Halloween. And I'm hoping you're having a happy fall and happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.